One second, the road looks normal. The next, you see a semi-truck sliding sideways across traffic. 80,000 pounds losing control, trailers falling, and cars trapped with nowhere to go. Today, we're breaking down the 8 best semi-truck crash scenarios. Number 8, loss of control on a wet highway. This incident takes place on a multi-lane highway during light rain where traffic is flowing normally, visibility is decent, and nothing initially looks dangerous. So, how does a truck lose control when the road doesn't look that bad? The semi enters a gentle curve at highway speed, carrying a heavy load, and at first, everything looks fine. But then, almost unnoticed, the pavement changes. Grip drops just a bit. And that's the thing, it doesn't take much. A tiny shift in trailer weight right in the middle of the curve is enough to start everything moving the wrong way. The driver tries to correct, but the mass of the trailer is already pushing, and once that weight starts pushing, it's hard to stop. And from there, it happens fast. The truck falls across lanes, and the cars behind it have no choice but to brake hard and move away from it. There's no violent crash, no fire, or explosion, just blocked lanes, stopped traffic, and a long cleanup that takes hours. This is the kind of crash that doesn't come from bad driving. It's what happens when small conditions like road surface, load balance, and timing stack up, and there's simply no margin left to recover. In the next one, everything slows down, but the outcome is just as serious. Number 7, sudden traffic stop collision. Here, traffic tightens up fast, cars ahead slow down, and suddenly there's not much room left. So what happens when a semi suddenly runs out of space? This is what it looks like. The truck is within the speed limit and nothing feels wrong. But suddenly, the traffic ahead just tightens faster than expected. The driver hits the brakes right away, but it's still not enough. With this much weight, stopping takes time and distance. The truck makes contact with the vehicle ahead at a slow speed, pushing it forward and setting off a chain reaction. This is just physics. A semi needs space to stop, and without it, there's no quick solution. Crashes like this are common, and they show why planning matters more than quick reactions when heavy vehicles are involved. And coming up next is a situation that's even quieter, where the truck isn't moving at speed at all, yet still ends up causing damage. Number 6, parked truck rollaway incident. This one doesn't even happen on the road. The truck is parked at a roadside stop. So how does a truck that isn't moving end up causing a crash? The truck is stopped on a slight incline, and the parking brake isn't fully engaged, or it doesn't hold under load. At first, nothing happens. Everything looks normal, so for a moment, there's no reason to worry. Then, slowly, almost quietly, the truck starts to roll, not all at once, but just a little at first. The driver did not pay attention to the parking brake, and because of that, there's no warning at all, which is really where the problem starts. So as the truck keeps moving, it only travels a short distance, but even that is enough. It makes contact with the truck behind, and from there, the weight does the rest. There's no speed involved, no loud impact, just momentum quietly doing its job. Rollaway incidents like this catch people off guard because they don't feel likely. But with something this heavy, even a small slope matters. Brake pressure, load balance, the surface underneath, all of it starts to add up in ways people don't expect. And once gravity takes over, there's very little time to react. Although the truck isn't moving fast, it doesn't need to be. When procedures aren't followed exactly, it doesn't take speed to cause damage, it just takes enough space to move. This incident didn't cause much damage, but the next one shows what happens when the road itself starts working against the truck. Number 5, downhill braking failure. This crash takes place on a long downhill stretch where speed control matters more than speed itself. What happens when brakes are asked to do too much for too long? As the truck starts descending, the driver relies mostly on the service brakes instead of engine braking, and at first, that feels manageable. Everything seems under control, but as the downhill stretch continues, the brakes stay engaged longer than they should. Heat begins to build up, slowly at first, almost unnoticed. Then, before there's much time to react, it builds much faster than expected. So by the time traffic comes into view at the bottom, the braking power just isn't there anymore. The pedal feels different, the response isn't the same, and although the driver is trying to slow down, there's simply not enough stopping force left. The truck makes contact with the vehicle ahead, setting off a vehicle crash, not because of speed, but because the system has reached its limit. This isn't about driving fast, it's about planning ahead. Once brake temperatures climb past a certain point, its control starts to fade. And when that happens, there's no quick fix in the moment. Up to this point, none of these crashes started with reckless driving. They started with normal situations turning critical. And the next one happens at much lower speed, but this time, poor visibility is the problem. Number 4, lane merge. Misjudgment. This crash happens near a construction zone where lanes narrow and traffic patterns shift. How much space does a semi really need to merge safely? It usually starts like this. The truck signals and starts moving over, and at first, everything looks normal. But then traffic speeds up slightly, and that changes things. happens. A car slips into the blind spot at the wrong moment, just in a moment, but long enough to matter. So when the truck continues the merge, contact happens at low speed. Not hard or sudden, but the size difference does the damage anyway. The smaller vehicle spins, and although the truck stops almost immediately, the situation has already escalated. Traffic behind backs up within seconds, lanes tighten, and movement slows to a crawl. There's no aggression here, just timing, blind spots, and bad luck. And in construction zones, that margin is already thin. Lanes are narrower, sight lines are limited, and drivers are focused on cones instead of each other. So when large vehicles are involved, even small misjudgments can turn into real problems very quickly. Construction zones are stressful enough. Now imagine adding weather into the mix. That's what we're about to find out in the next one. Quick timeout. If you're finding these breakdowns useful, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Most viewers watch without subscribing, and it helps more than you think. Alright, back to it. Number 3. Crosswind trailer. Tip over. This crash happens in open terrain during strong crosswinds, but can wind alone really tip a semi-truck? It actually can, but only when the trailer is lightly loaded. Here, the trailer is lightly loaded, and that's where the problem starts. It sounds safer, but in this case, it isn't. So when the wind hits the side of the trailer, there's less weight holding it down. The trailer leans slightly. Nothing problematic, at least not yet. But then another gust comes through, and although the driver reacts, the trailer is already acting like a sail. With less load inside, there's nothing to counter that sideways force. Thankfully, there's no impact. No other vehicles are involved, just wind, speed, and a tall trailer profile working together. And this is why empty or lightly loaded trailers can actually be more dangerous than full ones. In open areas, bridges, plains, long exposed stretches, crosswinds have nothing to break them up. Once that lateral push builds, control fades quickly, not because of poor driving, but because the physics change, and by the time it's noticeable, there's often very little room left to correct it. At this point, one thing becomes obvious. Speed isn't always the problem. Sometimes it's everything around the truck. Number 2. Low speed distraction. Collision. This crash takes place in slow-moving traffic near an intersection. How much damage can really happen at low speed? Traffic starts to slow, so the truck eases forward. At first, it's controlled, but then attention shifts, just for a moment, and that's all it takes. So when traffic ahead stops completely, the reaction comes a bit too late. The truck rolls into the cars ahead, pushing the vehicle forward before coming to a stop. The speed is low, and from the outside, it doesn't look serious, but that's misleading, because with this much weight involved, even slow movement carries force. With a semi, even slow movement carries force. Brakes, tires, and suspension all do their job, but mass doesn't disappear. That's why crashes like this happen in stop-and-go traffic, not because anyone is driving fast, but because spacing gets tight, attention drifts, and heavy vehicles don't get second chances once that gap is gone. All of these crashes involve driving conditions. The final one is different, because the problem starts before the truck even moves. Number 1. Mechanical failure under load. The final crash involves a mechanical failure while the truck is fully loaded. What happens when something breaks at the worst possible moment? A tire or a suspension component fails while the truck is under load. Control is lost just in a moment, but that's all it takes. The thing with mechanical failures is that they don't give warnings. There's no sound cue, no time to prepare. One moment, everything feels normal, and the next, something critical isn't doing its job anymore. So when that happens at this scale, even a small issue grows fast. A tire problem isn't just a tire problem. A suspension failure doesn't stay contained. The weight of the truck makes everything worse. Although the driver reacts immediately, there's not much that can be done when a component gives out under load. Then the steering feels off and the stability changes, and for a moment, control just isn't there. This is why maintenance matters so much. With vehicles this heavy, it often comes down to whether everything underneath is still doing what it's meant to do. Most of these crashes didn't come from chaos. They came from normal situations, adding up. If this breakdown changed how you look at truck accidents, there's another video on the channel that continues this kind of analysis from a different angle. It's a solid follow-up to this one. If you found this useful, hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I'll see you in the next video.